when they actually spend their time listening to this show. What does it mean? It means we're winning.
In this world, accessible of kindness and ethical blindness. So please excuse my sarcastic tone. I'm a bit underwhelmed by the sample shown. Mr. Bistro fraternity guy, you got my asshole, bloodshot eyes. Get drunk and fight every night. Idolize Bradley, belittle women's rights. Homophobic, racist, and don't give a fucking hey. Do you think you can drive a bigger truck? So wear your baseball cap to the side to let everyone know that you're a nice guy. So was so impressed. Lots of chicks and a barrel chest. Cause you're a real man. Punch for punch, gonna piss in your face while you're passed out drunk. I'm a nice guy. You're a nice guy. He's a nice guy. But all of you are assholes. I'm a nice guy. You're a nice guy. She's a nice guy. But all of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planets. Oh, I just can't understand it. Conquer divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics. Guess everybody gets their just desserts. As long as you remember that nice guys finish. You're next on the list. Such a nice guy who speaks through his fists. Prick with the penchant for messing with heads. A broken nose for dinner and breakfast in bed. Alcoholic, paranoid, and suicidal too. But you'll probably kill her before she gets away from you. Screws in a pool of blood and cry. All your friends see that you're a nice guy. Have a drink, this one's on me. Look, you're doing fine, losing to your disease. Comatose, I'll pack your bags. Bury you like cats ready to gag. I'm a nice guy, you're a nice guy. We're all nice guys, but all of you are assholes. He's a nice guy, she's a nice guy. Hey, Tom Bo's a nice guy. All of you are assholes. Nice guys rule the planet. The fundamental conquer divine by deception and lies. Social Darwinism and an overdose of pride. Fuck off, jerk off. I don't wanna hear it. Fuck off, jerk off. Read into the lyrics. Don't let the fucking pill quench your thirst. As long as you remember that nice guys finish first.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Plex. We do this show live every Sunday, usually at 7. We'll be back to 7 p.m. next week for this show. You can support this project at echoplexmedia.com/support or at eplex.store. You can buy merch and join a membership that is similar to Patreon there. Obviously, it's my first show from the new studio. I hope everybody likes things even more going forward. And you can find me now on your grinder grid in the East Bay. And this is what the people want.
I don't hate the cops. There's a person inside when the truncheon stops. Oh, don't hate the cops. Oh, when the raiders come, who will protect the shops? Don't hate the cops. They're a sensitive bunch if you don't stop throwing your rock. Snap, crackle, pop is the sound of a taser. Your body drops. Don't hate the cops. thank your local police. Cause they don't do nothing wrong, thank your local police. Got rid of the corruption and the racism is gone. They've been keeping the peace, keeping homeless folks out of the parks and malls. Got a cure for your social disease. Follow the law, don't hate the cops. 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 Put your hands above your head and show you're not afraid. I'm the fairest judge that your skin color's gonna get. And if you die before the sun comes up, the paperwork will take forever. Well, it might have worked out a little bit better if you didn't hate the cops. Cause they don't do nothing wrong, don't hate the cops. You can't blame them for just doing their job, don't hate the cops. Well, you gotta wonder, how much would it cost for you to be shot at and stabbed at by maniacs and drunks? Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops. Don't hate the cops, don't hate the cops.
Well, up first, it's Waters, because it's often Waters first. This is Jesse Waters, slavery understander.
He says this right here. This is well documented among historians. This is historical fact that slaves did develop skills while they were enslaved and then used those skills as blacksmiths, as in agriculture, tailoring, in the shipping business, to then use to benefit themselves and their families once they were freed. That's not controversial. And it actually speaks to the resilience and the aptitude of the enslaved African Americans who were at the time able to better themselves and able to improve their situation, despite brutal conditions, horrific and abhorrent conditions.
I mean, sure, I guess it's a testament to their fucking resiliency and shit, but like, what about the ones who didn't make it? There were a lot of those. The dead ones didn't get to be resilient. So this is just crazy. Like, they're just trying to cover for like one of their homies who said something stupid. Like, their homie just said something stupid, and they can't just be like, oh, our homie just said something stupid. Up next is a clip from Fox's The Five. And this is a top-notch discourse from Fox's The Five, in sort of the same vein as the last clip that we watched, actually.
Do you think that she read the whole thing and just decided to cherry pick something?
I do think that she read the whole thing, and I think that it's an incredibly complex piece. When you look at the 191 passages, you have some good, and frankly, I'm just fundamentally uncomfortable with the sentence that blacks benefited at all from this. And, it made me think, as someone, obviously I'm not black, but I'm Jewish. Would someone say about the Holocaust, for instance, that there were some benefits for Jews, right? While they were hanging out in concentration camps, you learned a strong work ethic, right? Maybe you learned a new skill.
Did you ever read Man's Search for Meaning? Vic Frankl talks about how you had to survive in a concentration camp by having skills. You had to be useful. Utility kept you alive.
We're also talking about middle schoolers here. And there's a lot of concern about what age people are prepared to understand complex issues. I'm not sure that 12 is the right age to start hearing things like, and when you were enslaved here in America.
What about gender?
Oh, he had to bring it up. He's like, well, what about gender? And it's like, yeah, I don't know that it's a problem with like, oh, these are young people being exposed to these ideas. I think the problem actually is like the fucking idea. I don't think that like we adults should be talking about like, oh, the slaves did pretty good because they were able to, learn some life skills. No, I don't think we should be talking about that as adults either. So, I mean, like people are free to do what they want, obviously, because somebody wrote about it. But what? No. So up next, we got one more clip from the 5 because, of course, we do. This is Greg Gutfeld explaining how he got his late night show.
At the beginning, I didn't want to do the show. In fact, I called.
Do tell.
I called a famous talk show host, and he said, Greg, you have it good. You have it good. You do the 5. The 5's great ensemble. You don't have to work that hard. You do this thing on Saturday. That's good. One night a week. You don't want any more hassle. It's a lot of work. You're getting older. You want to work less. And I said to myself, this is exactly what I'm thinking. So I told our boss, Suzanne, I said, yeah, I'm not thinking about it. But then I called Tucker. And I called Tucker and I go, hey, I don't think I'm going to do this show. And he goes, you got to be crazy.
This guy is aggressively unfunny.
And literally,
that was aggressively unfunny.
I changed my mind. And I go like these apps. I'm like, you got to do this. You got to do this. You can't be scared. You got to run right at it. So that's what I did.
It was probably Tucker's idea for him to steal the Garfield logo for his show. He's like, just steal the Garfield logo. It'll be fine. Nobody will notice. And Tucker not sending us his best. Up next, we got one that I called, just charging random people with crimes. This is from the Laura Ingraham show. And her guest appears to be Josh Hawley talking about just, charging random people with crimes. Because, that's what we do now. The party of law and order talking about this.
Well, they just keep piling on Trump from every corner.
Yeah, now, Laura, we're down to charging like random people, just throwing those into the indictments. Is it any coincidence that the DOJ rushes to add these new indictments today after the Hunter debacle, after their own self-dealing and two-timing is exposed, after they tried to hide from us the true extent of this plea deal? That gets blown up, and then it's like, oh, we got to go indict Trump on something else. I mean, it's so brazen right now what they're doing. It is really a subversion of the rule of law. I mean, they're taking the rule of law, turning it on its head, and Laura, we cannot allow this to stand. The American people are not going to be safe. Our system of government is not going to be safe if this is going to be the new standard.
If the new, what do you mean? I don't know. If I really liked any president, it would be silly for me to think that if after they were office, they were charged with a crime, that would mean that I'm next. I'm going to be charged with a crime next. I'm nobody. DOJ has no idea who I am. What do they mean? Oh, you're going to get charged with a crime next. It's well, for what? Nobody even knows who most people are unknown to the DOJ. It's such a silly thing to be oh, somebody famous had something happen to them and, it could be you next. And it's well, I guess if it's a disease maybe, but if it's somebody came after you, well, no, it probably isn't going to be you next because you're not famous. Up next, we got if anybody here, my Twitch audience, if you've seen Twitch panels before, you would notice that a lot of times there's a lot of people on them. Well, we got CNN here with, I count 9 fucking people on their fucking panel to talk about documents and security clearance. 9 fucking people.
This is a major breakthrough in this case. And just to refresh our viewers' memories, there is an incident charged in the initial indictment and charged again in this new indictment where Donald Trump is showing people with no security clearance after he's left the White House, people who are writing a book about Mark Meadows. He's ruffling documents and telling them to look at this. He says, I could have declassified when I was in office, but I didn't. And there had been some question, as Caitlin just laid out, about whether there was an actual classified document he was showing or whether he was just puffing or exaggerating. And as Caitlin said, Donald Trump's representative said it was the latter. Now we know that's not true. Now we know the document Donald Trump was showing these people with zero security clearance was an actual highly classified document that had to do with war plans And we know DOJ has that document. They've now added a charge against Donald Trump. And why this is so important is because this is the one incident in the whole indictment where Donald Trump most flagrantly disseminates the information, where it's not just sitting in boxes in his bathroom or on the stage at Mar-a-Lago, which is bad, which is potentially criminal, but it's the one most flagrant incident where he's taking that information and giving it out to somebody. And that's why it's such an important and dangerous moment in this case.
Certainly.
Why were there 9 people on that panel? I don't even care what that guy said. There were like 9 people on the screen, and there was only one person talking. Whoever was operating the camera switcher was definitely falling down on the job. He's like, let's just put as many fucking people on the screen as possible. Make it look like you think that it makes it look like they have their team on something? That must be it, right? It makes them look like their team is on it. Well, putting 9 people on the screen and only letting one of them talk doesn't really make me feel like the other people on the screen are even part of the team. But that's just my, uneducated non-media person take. I'm not a camera switching expert, so as many can tell. Up next, we got looks like yikes. Looks like somebody in Trump's order deleted some of the security footage after they knew that there was an investigation happening. Great.
President Trump now facing additional charges in the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case. Those charges include willful retention of national defense information and 2 additional obstruction charges. Those are related to alleged attempts to delete surveillance video footage from Trump's Mar-a-Lago club last summer. Now, according to the indictment, Trump requested, that's the word they use, that a Mar-a-Lago employee, quote, delete security camera footage in order to, quote, prevent the footage from being provided to a federal grand jury. These new charges are in addition to the 37 charges Trump is already facing. And we are also learning tonight that new charges were filed as well against Trump's aide, Walt Nauta, and a third individual is now charged, specifically related to this deleting a video. And that man is Carlos de Oliveira. He is the head of maintenance at Mar-a-Lago, who helped Trump's aide, Walt Nauta, move boxes of classified documents after the Justice Department first subpoenaed Trump for those documents. Now, we don't know exactly how many times he helped move them, but we do know that he did help. And we know that those boxes sat for months in a ballroom where events and gatherings were taking place that the public was able to access. The boxes were then moved to a business center, then to a bathroom. From there, the boxes were moved to a storage room.
Like the head of maintenance? What the fuck? Like, that sucks. You're like the head of maintenance for some hotel or like a resort or something, and now all of a sudden, because you did what your boss said, you've been like charged with crimes and shit. What the fuck? Like the head of maintenance? This just gets dumber and fucking dumber. Like, I know it's all bad. It's all like really bad stuff, but it's all just really dumb. Like, just dumb. Up next, we got Pastor Mark Burns. This guy has been on Clay Clark's Reawaken America tour many times. And he thinks that all this is actually fine, like whatever, even throwing the maintenance guy under the bus, apparently, because the man was anointed by God, after all.
The DOJ has been used as a Gestapo type weaponized entity to go after the leading candidate for the Republican nomination, Joe Biden's biggest political enemy. These type of incidents, they've been happening in the swamp. This is why we need the blood of Jesus like never before. We need to have the power of God like never before. We need to be invoking Deuteronomy's 1 Corinthians chapter 10, 13. We need to be invoking 1 John chapter 5, verse number 4. We need to be using the word of God, the scriptures, to allow Master Jesus through the Holy Spirit to go before us, fight our battles in the spiritual realm. Because remember, Pastor Gene, as you know, and the Flashpoint Army know, our weapons are not carnal, but our weapons are in the supernatural realm. We have to do more praying, fasting, speaking in tongues, calling out, casting out demons.
More speaking in tongues? I thought like the idea of speaking in tongues is that the fucking spirit took a hold of you or whatever, and that's why you speak in tongues. Now he's just telling people to do it.
Did. And I believe that's why Donald Trump is leading in the polls, because as I've already said, Pastor Gene, he is God's anointed. I don't care about his personal life. He's God's anointed.
Well, shout out to Right Wing Watch, I suppose. Like, The thing that struck me about that was mostly the thing about speaking in tongues, if I'm being perfectly honest, because I thought that that was unintentional. I thought that the point of speaking in tongues is you show up at like a revival or whatever, and you're just so overcome by the Spirit that now you're speaking gibberish, speaking in tongues. But apparently this is just something that we need to do more of. So maybe he, if we're being charitable, maybe he thinks people should be overcome by the Spirit more often. But there's I think it was just a weird thing to say, all things considered. Anyway, up next we got this is Peter Navarro is going to talk about, of course, obviously the coming Civil War. They're always talking about this shit. There's always another Civil War coming.
Roughly half of Republicans and over a third of Democrats believe America is on the brink of civil war. If such an unthinkable war breaks out, it will be the Democrats' fault. In their quest for power, radical elements within the Democrat Party have abandoned any pretense of fairness, tolerance, and justice. In their woke new world, Democrat strategists use unscrupulous lawfare tactics to skew our election system, even as weaponized bureaucracies like the Department of Justice, FBI, and National Archives, now under Democrat control, seek to destroy the Republican Party and its...
The National Archives, now under Democratic control. The National Archives?
De facto leader, Donald Trump. The Democrat activists and strategists now driving this nation towards a second civil war have neither justice nor righteousness on their side. Instead, they are attempting to trample on our religions, disarm us, and impose all manner of woke, social, cultural, and economic changes that are far
What are woke economic changes?
Outside the bounds of America's traditions, traditional values, and constitutional roots. My strong admonition to these Democrats, as I appeal to the wiser in your party, is this. Back this anti-democratic truck up before it runs over you. Do you not understand that the longer...
But if you're in the driver's seat and then never mind.
You engage in your assaults on American families and values, the more likely a new civil war becomes. And do you not understand that the perverse precedents you are creating through your weaponized bureaucracies and woke attacks will come back to haunt you as soon as Republicans take back Trump's America from your cold, woke hands.
At the end, from your cold, woke hands. My hands get cold sometimes, and I guess I'm pretty woke. Is that what he's talking about, from my cold, woke hands? I almost didn't include that because it was pretty fucking stupid. Like, I watched it beforehand, too. I was like, this is probably pretty stupid. I'm like, I had a busy week. I didn't have time to put together as good a docket as I could have possibly put together. So we'll go ahead and include that. So up next, we got speculation that the White House is going to pardon Hunter Biden. And I think that's what they're not going to do. I think that there's no reason that Hunter Biden pled guilty to some federal crimes and was given probation and served his sentence, just like there's like a lot of other people who pled guilty to those specific crimes. And so there's no real point in pardoning him. It doesn't do anything. In fact, all it would just be stupid. There's no reason to do it. And it's his son. Yeah. Like, you just don't do it. Like, he's not in jail. And no, yeah, it would just feed the machine. It would give people who think that that's what he's going to do, it would give him what he wants. And I mean, the saga of Hunter Biden's crimes is over so far as we know. Who knows? Maybe there's more.
Is the moment on pardoning his son. Listen.
We go back to the first question of the briefing. I know you said not a lot's changed since yesterday and that it's a personal matter, but from a presidential perspective, is there any possibility that the president would end up pardoning his son?
No.
Well, is there?
I just said no.
Good answer.
Answer. Go ahead. Go ahead.
All right. So write that one down because we may need to revisit it at some point.
That was news. And we had a lot of it.
There's a lot of sort of, 11th hour pardons as you're on your way out the door at the end of either your first or your second term. And, if we got to that point, I wouldn't rule it out. We'll see.
Was a few interesting moments. All right.
But there's no reason to. It accomplishes nothing. That's the problem with it, is it doesn't accomplish anything. Like, it's not like Hunter Biden's out there looking for a fucking regular job like normal people, right? So what the fuck good does a pardon do? Like, he's just going to continue to spend dad's money for the rest of his fucking life. Like, I don't understand why. There's no upside to it. Even if Biden is defeated or whatever, and he goes out in 2025, like in January of 2025, there's just no upside to it. It's already been adjudicated. I don't know how much probation he got, probably not much. And so there's nothing there for the Biden administration. If I was running that administration, I wouldn't do that. They'd be like, hey, you gonna pardon your son? I'd be like, what? Isn't he like out walking around free? And be like, yeah. And I'd be like, no. So up next, we got Laura Loomer. I don't know what the fuck she's doing. I mean, this is Steve Bannon's show, so, he kind of takes all comers, but I don't know what Laura Loomer's doing back in the public eye. But here's her talking about an event that she went to for, I guess, technically candidate Ron DeSantis.
High dollar donor retreat in Deer Valley, Utah, at the resort that Ron DeSantis spent over $87,000 of his dwindling campaign resources for this weekend. And I don't know if I'm like at a strip club or a high dollar donor retreat for Ron DeSantis's campaign. But yeah, it's like Hoochie Mama Central in Deer Valley, Utah.
Did she just call Deer Valley, Utah, Hoochie Mama Central? I think she just called Deer Valley, Utah, Hoochie Mama Central. And I guarantee you that whatever you think a Hoochie Mama is, there ain't many of them in Deer Valley.
And these are super bundlers for Ron DeSantis with their trophy wives. And as you can see from that video,
a song in my head, it makes me sing like that. And I'm ready to go. And I'm ready to
I think it means that one blonde lady. Like, who's that blonde lady? This is kind of cringe, but
you get me out of my mind. Can't stop this feeling.
I mean, that's no more cringe than just being Laura Loomer, I suppose, but that's kind of cringe. I don't know. Hoochie Mama Central. Get the fuck out of here. Did you see that place? It was like in the middle. It was like in the high desert somewhere. It's interesting that anybody's even trying to go after Ron DeSantis, because I mean, like, it's obvious that Trump is going to be the nominee. Like, even if like the fucking blue wave, fucking weirdo, fucking Twitter Democrat people are right and he's going to be in prison or whatever, he'll still be the nominee. Like, these people are like, I don't know why they're going. I mean, I don't know why they're going after Ron DeSantis in this way. I don't like Ron DeSantis particularly, but I feel like it's like a waste of everyone's time to even like think about it. Up next, just so everyone knows, Ted Cruz has a podcast, and it's interesting that he's being interviewed introduced, I believe, by Eric Bolling here. And Eric Bolling is, well, you'll see how he introduces Senator Ted Cruz.
Shocked in newsrooms. I'm sure they were shocked in the courtroom. Were you shocked in the halls of the Senate?
No, Eric, I have to admit I was not shocked. As you know, I do a podcast every week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, called Verdict with Ted Cruz. Today's podcast was entirely or primarily about this hearing this morning, where, among other things, I pointed out that the federal...
I couldn't imagine listening to Ted Cruz's podcast. I mean, maybe I'll check it out sometime just to see like what's going on over there. But this guy's like universally disliked. Up next, we got Kevin McCarthy. This is just a totally normal thing for the Speaker of the House to be doing here. Just a totally, absolutely normal, not weird or fucking pilled or anything. Just normal, just a regular thing that the Speaker of the House tends to do.
One of my goals is to open up the House and get members working together again. We've made some great progress in that, where bills actually come through committees, where members are now showing up for work. And so tonight, I'm going to have another movie night. We're going to show The Sound of Freedom. And Jim Caviezel, who stars in the movie, and Tim Ballard, what the movie is about. I'm hoping Republicans and Democrats can come together, see a movie about human trafficking. We're going to actually find ways to stop the human trafficking that's continuing to move throughout the world.
So he's like, I'm going to have everybody over to watch the fucking QAnon movie, because that's just a totally normal thing that a Speaker of House does. I think movie night for Congress is kind of a cool idea, but they should be watching like The Sound of Music, not The Sound of Freedom, right? It should be like totally innocuous, old, because a lot of the people in Congress are pretty fucking old anyway. So why wouldn't they just watch an old movie that, you know, was sort of from their time, you know, here's looking at you, kid. But no, they're watching the pilled movie. And that I was waiting for him to say that like Jim Caviezel and Tim Ballard would be there. And I guess he didn't say that, which is fantastic, because I'm glad they're not there. Though I do think that both of them have briefed members of Congress about this. And especially with Jim Caviezel, that's terrifying, because the dude fucking lost his marbles. He's fucking completely kookaburds. Up next, we got Paul Gosar. He's going to talk about the new drug strategy out of the White House.
Biden's national drug control strategy is 150 pages. The words God and faith are not mentioned one time. People need a purpose to be happy. To quote Robert F. Kennedy, I know that's awful hard, quote, unemployment kills, end of quote. The left offers endless benefits. In other words, dependency, because dependent population votes for the providers of those benefits. But a human being needs a purpose, a good job, the ability to provide for a family, a belief in a creator in order to be happy.
I mean, no. Like, I don't care if, like, I guess there's not supposed to be religious language in something, but if like somebody kind of alludes to a creator or something in a bill, I kind of don't care. But this guy's like, oh, there's none of my God is in there. No mention of my God. It's like, fuck you. You didn't read the whole thing anyway. These people never read the whole thing. He had his staffers read it, or he just hit Control F, right? He was like a Control F, God, didn't find it. Control F, faith, didn't find it. Now he's mad. Up next, we have Marjorie the Gathering. She is going to jump to the defense of anti-vaxxer and known kook RFK Jr. for his statements about the vaccine being genetically engineered to not target Chinese or Jewish folks.
You have the weaponization committee, and all the Democrats are outraged at Bobby Kennedy because he's talking about the very real possibility that COVID-19 could have been engineered to target people by race. And so the Democrats are trying to censor him. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, just maybe an hour ago, was trying to completely shut him down and censor his speech.
But how? How does he, like, this guy is getting like huge numbers on like everything he does. He's you know, he's not going to win the primary, but this guy's not being censored. Like Debbie Wasserman Schultz, I don't understand what she means censored here. Does she mean that he's not getting meetings with top officials in the party, that he's not allowed to, that he's not being given time to speak at, events held by the Democratic Party? I just don't know what she means there. I think that they just use the word censored just to kind of mean whatever it needs to mean. And a lot of times for like heterodox thinkers or whatever, like the IDW and like fucking conspiracy theorists and whatnot, a lot of times I'm being censored just means like other people aren't taking me seriously and are possibly insulting me. And that's not censorship. That's what happens when if you're going to go out there and fucking say your say, you're going to be loud in the courtyard, you fucking better expect people to talk back, make fun of you, or even sometimes you fucking those people to just not going to listen to you. And that's fine. It's okay for people not to listen to you or not take you seriously or whatever. So this week there was a UFO hearing in Congress, and it was dumb. Like, it was dumb. Here's an example of the dumb UFO hearing that happened in Congress this week.
Intelligent
extraterrestrials?
Something I can't discuss in public setting.
Okay, I can't ask when you think this occurred. If you believe we have crashed craft, stated earlier, do we have the bodies of the pilots who piloted this craft?
As I've stated publicly already in my News Nation interview, Biologics came with some of these recoveries. Yeah.
Wait, we watched this on Conspiracy Bingo one night, and it was like a whole load of nothing. I think our friends over at Unelectable Airwaves, who also want to believe in aliens like I do, and are more inclined maybe to believe this stuff, they also thought this was that this guy was full of shit.
Were they, I guess, human or non-human biologics?
Non-human, and that was the assessment of people with direct knowledge on the program I talked to that are currently still on the program.
And was this documentary evidence, this video, photos, eyewitness? Like, how would that be determined?
The specific documentation I would have to talk to you in a skiff about.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. So, and you may or may not be able to answer my last question, and maybe we get into a skiff at the next hearing that we have, but who in the government, either what agency, sub-agency, what contractors, who should be called into the next hearing about UAPs, either in a public setting or even in a private setting? And you probably can't name names, but what agencies or organizations, contractors, et cetera, do we need to call in to get these questions answered, whether it's about funding, what programs are happening, and what's out there?
I can give you a specific cooperative and hostile witness list of specific individuals that were in those.
And how soon can we get that list?
I'm happy to provide that to you after the hearing.
Super. Thank you. And I yield back.
Like, I watched some of it. I was getting ready to move, so I didn't have like a lot of time to check out these hearings, but it was all dumb. Like, their expert witnesses were like, I can't tell you. Oh, I know about it. Oh yeah, I know about it. It almost sounded like, oh, I have a girlfriend. She goes to another school. No, I can't introduce you to her. It was that kind of thing. But it was in like Congress. Like I said, this is what they want to waste their time on, and this is what they want to fucking waste their time on. I totally believe that people have seen stuff in the sky that they can't explain, and that the government can't explain. And I'm open to the idea that some of it may have been craft from another place and not this planet. But this guy is not credible. The guy that they just showed, he's not credible. And after they watched, it was a News Nation interview, the one that we watched on Conspiracy Bingo on Alien Night one night. I can't believe they had him in, but I guess like somebody invited him in. It's not like they vote on who they're going to have in. Somebody I don't even know the mechanisms by which that is. I have a degree in political science too, and I don't know any of these mechanisms. Anyway, we're going to move on here. We have very basic questions in Texas here about accountability for religious schools, and they just can't answer them, honestly. It's just, very, very difficult basic questions about accountability.
The Catholic schools that you oversee, what standard do they have to meet in terms of student outcome, student achievement, in order to keep their accreditation? That would be, every public school district comes in to be able to tell you that.
Yeah. That's not my day-to-day job, is what I'm telling you.
You're the principal, sir?
I am.
So what is that standard that you have to meet to keep your accreditation?
I couldn't give you the exact score of a student. So, if you want exact scores, so students have to be, to be able to pass, students have to meet a passing score of 70 percentile.
So the student or the school has to be in the 70th percentile?
That's the student to be promoted to the next.
Sure, now I understand that. How many of the students have to meet that standard for you to keep your accreditation?
I don't think we have a requirement of how many students have to meet that.
Okay.
As far as I'm
I want to make sure the committee heard that.
Very basic questions, and this guy's just, I don't think we have to do that. And I think he's probably right. I think that especially in Texas, but probably the case here in California, that like religious schools get to skirt like a non-insignificant amount of the sort of regulation and requirements that public schools have to abide by. Not great. Anyway, we got a guy named Hung Kao. He's running for a U.S. Senate in Virginia, and he's talking to our friend Ramen Hair Sean Fucked from Bethel up in Reading.
tell me about Virginia. Tell me about your experience. What do you see God doing? And then let's get into, obviously, your amazing announcement, what we're pumped about.
Well, the last 3 statewide elections were won by Republicans, right? The governor, the lieutenant governor, and the attorney general, all Republicans.
And Winsome Sears is a gangster.
Yes, she is, and
we love her.
Great woman of God. I mean, honestly, she's always texting me prayers, and we pray back and forth, and she's amazing. And so, again, it's we can't let it turn like this. There's a place in Monterey, California, called Lovers Point.
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great spot.
The original name was Lovers of Christ Point, but now it's become...
I don't think so. I mean, somebody may have been calling it Lovers of Christ Point, but that's... Lovers Point in Monterey wasn't about Jesus. I mean, some people might have been screaming out, oh God, oh God, oh God, and shit there, but it wasn't about Jesus. Lovers Point is usually,
took out the Christ, it's Lovers Point, and it's really, Monterey is a very dark place now.
Yeah.
A lot of witchcraft and
Monterey is a dark place with a lot of witchcraft. Monterey is a tourist trap with a lot of mediocre seafood restaurants that charge you like $60 a plate.
The Wiccan community has really taken over.
The Wiccan community. Did you know that, everybody? You can't even get on the Monterey City Council or the Monterey County Board of Supervisors if you're not a Wiccan. I don't know if you knew that. It's completely been taken over by the Crystal Shop lobby. Just go there, you'll find out. I'll go and take pictures. There's just fucking witches on every fucking corner in Monterey.
Can't let that happen in Virginia. Virginia is, I mean, especially down in Roanoke, they're God-loving people.
Right.
Richmond too, and Virginia Beach, and we just need to.
Virginia Beach is where Madison Star Moon is from. Y'all could do a lot. Y'all, it would be much better if like there was a Wiccan doing Wiccan videos instead of Madison Star Moon doing her 5G videos.
Mobilize Christians across the nation. I mean,
shout out to Right Wing Watch. That I didn't know that was going to be about Wiccans. That's pretty great. I didn't know there were Wiccans in Monterey. Let's go. I mean, all my, if you noticed, a lot of my friends are kind of big titty goths, right? So, I mean, I'd fit in real well there. Everybody would love me. Aging big titty goths and aging gay men unite in Monterey. I think it's a great idea. And I think I should move this whole operation down to Monterey when I have 59,000 people watching my show concurrently every night. Because then I can afford to move to Monterey. Anyway, this guy Perry Johnson is apparently sort of claiming to be running for president. He's claiming to be running against Donald Trump and Ron DeSantis on the GOP side. And this is just, here's a little taste.
You look at this and you think about us, the world looks at us and they say, wow, by golly, it's amazing. You look at Carnegie, you look at Vanderbilt, you look at Edison, you look at Henry Ford, you look at Elon Musk, and the world says, wow, this is a country like any country in the history of the world, and by golly, we're going to keep it that way. We are going to continue to be the greatest country the world has ever known.
Wow.
God bless Iowa, and God bless the United States of America. Enjoy life.
I kind of wonder what the rest of his speech was like. Because it finished strong. It was like, wow. Everybody's like, wow. Finishing strong, baby. Finishing strong. I bet the beginning was like policy heavy, right? Just super policy heavy. A lot of healthcare and economic policy. So it's a little early for a palate cleanser, but like I said, I didn't really get to. I just didn't. I had a lot of stuff to do this week, so I didn't get a super long docket. So it's 43 minutes into the podcast part of the show, and we already have a palate cleanser, and it's gonna loop because it's a Twitter video. It's only 5 seconds, but this is one hungry fucking pupper. One more time. That's actually me at the chowder stand if I end up moving to Monterey. The chowder would just be gone. That is a fucking hungry pupper, man. And what an efficient eater. What an efficient eater. I wish I could eat that efficiently. I would save, 20, 30 minutes a day if I could just devour a meal in like fucking 6 seconds flat like that pupper did. Also, what a cute dog. I'm afraid of the dog. I would be very terrified. What if it mistook my hand for a bowl of food? That was a hungry, hungry pupper. So up next, this is a bit of a weird one. We haven't really been covering the writer's strike because first of all, I don't know that much about it, and I'm not really like a TV and movies person. I hope other streamers and podcasters have been doing a good job covering the writer's strike. I would imagine Majority Report's probably doing some pretty good work on that because Sam was in the industry for a while, but I could be wrong. I haven't listened to Majority Report in a while. Anyway, but here's Danny Trejo, who I have mixed feelings about. I think he's a pretty good actor. He was great in the episode of Burn Notice he was in. But he's also like pushes Narcotics Anonymous, which I don't know, there's like much better like evidence-based rehab programs. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. He's taking an interview about the strike, and he just randomly calls the governor.
By Danny Trejo, in addition to being an actor, has a line of taco stores and restaurants here in Los Angeles,
and music,
and many things. And so you came here to support the actors. Tell us what your perspective is on this strike.
Well, all we're asking is for everybody to be fair. That's it, just fair. And everything's gone up, but our wages. And so it's like, we're all not Tom Cruise. So it's like we gotta support our money. I mean, we got to support. Hey, Newsom, call me.
You're leaving a message for the governor there. What's your
call me maybe?
Call me.
How concerned are you about artificial intelligence impacting the future as well as streaming revenues?
Let me tell you something. I'm worried about regular intelligence. And now it's like they're gonna that means they can use our image or for whatever. You know what I mean? And it's like so now. Residuals have basically slowing down. And it's like, well, wait a minute. Give us a piece of that pie, too, So right now, it's like all the producers, they're making some dough, and the only thing that's working is nobody's working. So
nobody's working right now.
You got to understand, this affects a lot of people. This affects every restaurant around here. This affects every...
Oh, he's making a fucking good point, actually. This affects the restaurants, too, because if these people aren't working, they're not going out to eat.
Around here, And, in fact...
I wonder if there's even good restaurants around that. I bet it's a bunch of chains.
My garden's at my house right now.
Probably Bubba Gumps or something.
And are you concerned about AI either replicating actors or taking more actors' jobs?
Well, you know what? Anything that takes away is not good. When everybody's excited that, hey, we got a robot that can do this, good. You just took Juan Sanchez out of a job. So it's like, for me, it's like we've got to remember that, we're all on this, it's like we're all on the Titanic looking for a good seat. We got to take care of each other all over the world. And so.
And how long do you think this strike could last?
I hope not too long. Aren't income taxes coming up pretty soon? I know I owe a lot. Tell them, hey, President Biden, you're going to have to wait for your money.
Well, I understand you're here to bring water and tacos to some of the...
That's pretty funny. Like, he's generally a pretty good guy. And like I said, he did a great job in the episode of Burn Notice he was on. And what I kind of like is some of the like famous people that don't need the money are out there like talking about this and being like, hey, all these people actually need this job. They need this work. This is what they do for a living. He mentioned, I forget the name he used, but it obviously wasn't anybody we've heard of. He's like, oh, you're doing this. Well, now this dude you've never heard of is out of a job. Great. Good for you. And so it's kind of nice to see some of the people stepping up. He mentioned Tom Cruise, and I bet he mentioned Tom Cruise because notably Tom Cruise hasn't said shit. Probably busy ridding himself of body thetans. Anyway, up next, we got a couple clips of people from Trump rallies. That's why everybody's here, right? This is a pretty bold move for someone to just come out and say, you gotta respect it, I suppose.
You ever seen any voter fraud?
Yeah, me. I did it.
You committed voter fraud? What'd you do?
Voted twice for Trump.
Really?
4 years ago, yes.
Did you get in trouble for that?
Yeah, I'm still on probation for it.
Really?
Yeah. Now, if I voted for Hillary, I would have got a gold medal.
But you voted for Trump twice.
Yes, I did, yeah.
Yeah. So...
I learned the hard way not to do it.
But did you wear a mustache or anything?
No, it was two different places. I went to a different place. different time. I voted
Yeah.
one time, like maybe a couple weeks later, try and vote at another place, someplace else.
I don't know. I'm having like a big crisis because I honestly thought it was like libs that were doing it.
Yeah.
That's fucking funny. And it's, she's like, I got in big trouble. I learned my lesson. You know, it'd be really funny though, is if she was just taking the piss, right? And that didn't happen. And she was like, oh, it was me. I did the voter fraud. That would be very funny. She'd be even funnier than, I believe those were the Good Liars who were interviewing her, if I'm not mistaken. So that would be pretty funny. But like in-person voter fraud actually isn't really a problem. We have election fraud and, you know, other things like gerrymandering in the Electoral College that are a problem. But in-person voter fraud seems not to be a problem. And that's good. So up next, we got a guy who personally has audited the last election. He did it by, I'm going to assume by doing his own research, but we'll let him tell it. Maybe I got it wrong. Maybe he got the information from Jesus or some shit.
You're supporting Donald Trump?
Well, in my case, I'm in it because I got into the audit in New York State. I've seen a lot of things that you're not supposed to see when you're auditing an election.
Okay, tell us, what was your role and what were you guys auditing?
Well, I'm the lead in Cattaraugus County, but we're leading the voter rolls in New York State. We found a lot of duplicated voter rolls.
No.
Yeah, well, over 1 million.
Over 1 million?
Okay, so this is really important because a lot of people don't understand the importance of voter rolls and why they need to be clean. You know, we've heard a lot of people talk about ballot stuffing or ballot trafficking, like the 2,000 mules thing. You can't do that. You can't just add ballots into the tally unless you have corrupted voter rolls, because those ballots have to be assigned to a voter, but at least someone on the roll.
Well, they created a savings account of extra voters that they can use at their will.
Right.
And they are doing that. We have the proof. We found the double voting. We've seen the algorithms. Our lead research guy in the New York audit had a peer paper published about his research and what he did. It's been published. It's been approved. It's facts.
What?
Yeah, I don't believe this guy. I mean, he may have worked like on the election, but he's like, we found thousands of like duplicate things, or millions, he said. But like the other thing is, if they found them, then they were aware of them. I don't know. Like, I just moved and I'm going to go re-register to vote. I'll probably still be on the Santa Clara County voter rolls, but I'm not going to vote there. Like, people move all the time. People just move to a different place. One time I moved around the corner and I literally moved around the corner one time, and I was probably like on the voter rolls twice, once at the old address and once at the new address. But I only got my mail-in ballot sent to one place. Or we could just believe the guy in the Punisher shirt who has never read a single bit about the Punisher. I bet the guy is like, back the blue. I have my Punisher shirt on. Anyway, last week we watched a clip of Pearl Davis. She was, she said some pretty shitty things. So what you're going to keep an eye on this is another clip of Piers Morgan. She's on the Piers Morgan show. Keep an eye on her as Piers Morgan talks about what she did and sort of describes it, because it looks like she thought she was going to go on there for a softball interview, and she realized that that's not what's going to happen.
Sue Piers Morgan said, Sue Pearl Davis is the self-styled anti-feminist influencer who's creating major buzz online with a contrarian view. She's appeared in a couple of debates on this show. It's called Uncensored After All. We welcome any honestly held opinions. But this week, she's facing a major backlash for posting a song titled Why Can't We Talk About the Jews, which she dedicated to far-right commentator Nick Fuentes before later deleting it.
Yeah, did you see that? She didn't know that he
The far-right
she had no idea that's what he was going to talk about.
Nick Fuentes before later deleting it.
She's like, how could you? Did you see that? You can't, that's not faked. That's like a real human reaction. Like when you're surprised and like fucking kind of mad, not mad, but like, you're like, oh no, this is a completely, oh no reaction. If you're listening to the podcast, this is probably riveting. Like if you downloaded the audio, but you can find the link to this in the show notes.
Nick Fuentes before later deleting it.
Why can't we talk about them without getting kicked off of YouTube? Now, I'm not saying Hitler was a good guy, but I kinda wanna know why. Now there's all these conspiracy theories, and the more they talk, I think maybe they're right. But I can't even listen to the convo.
Well, Pearl joins me now, along with the New York author and founder.
Like, she's legitimately shocked that this. I think they probably lied to her about why she was coming on the show.
The Jew hatred, Brooke Goldstein, over in the States. All right, Pearl, you've come on the show a couple of times, right? We've had some spirited debates about feminism and stuff like that, and I thought you've made some good points, and it's got lots of traction. Then I wake up the other day and I see this thing that's trending involving you doing this song. And I couldn't really believe what I was watching. I didn't know why did you find it funny?
Huh?
Did you find it funny? I mean, you know the backlash to it. I mean, you deleted it. You obviously thought you shouldn't have posted it.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you do that?
So I have a feeling that we're going to pick up on that during our red light tonight. We'll maybe we'll watch the Piers Morgan interview with her, and then maybe if people can remember, if you maybe put it in the peanut gallery. It'll probably it won't get buried in the peanut gallery during the show. If you can put it in the peanut gallery, maybe we can watch the whole interview, and then we can watch her response to it, because my docket's a little thin this evening, and we're going to need something to do here. Yeah, why would you make that video and then put it up on YouTube, and then again, then act surprised, I guess, when people are offended by it? Because I think like a lot of times these people are doing things specifically to offend people. And so if you're getting what you want, then why do you get mad when you get what you want? And I think it's because she thought she was just going to offend people like me or people like you, right? People that watch this channel, but she actually probably offended a lot of people in her audience. And that's probably why she got mad. And I'm being canceled because people in her audience probably were like, hey, what if you went and fucked yourself? And, you step out too far for your audience. And a lot of times they're willing to forgive you. I've stepped out, probably out on a limb, doing this, and people have, not necessarily liked what I was doing. And, even a couple times people have come to me and been like, hey, what are you doing, dude? But I didn't write a song about why can't we talk about the Jews? I mean, that's, I'm willing to do a little bit of edgy stuff, but not that. First of all, I understand why we don't just continue to go over the Jewish question over and over again. I'm not interested in it, but I also even if I somehow was interested in it, I would know that maybe that's radioactive and that I shouldn't write a song about it and then perform it on my YouTube channel. Bad for the career, bad for the career going forward as a content creator. So up next, we got feminism equals genocide.
What is the purpose of feminism? What do they want out of women? And I think, I thought about this a lot, and to me, it just seems really obvious that the end goal of feminism and all of these messages is really to keep people as childless as possible, how
childless is possible? It just seems like it's a yes or no.
Self-sterilized as possible. It almost feels like, maybe this is strong language, but a form of genocide almost to Americans. They don't want you to be stable and happy and raising your own children. And it seems very obvious why they don't want to do that. They really want to sort of educate children themselves and feed them all their own messages. So the fewer kids that you have, the fewer kids they have to worry about not getting the messages, not being indoctrinated properly.
What? That wasn't even that offensive. It was just stupid. I thought so if you were trying to indoctrinate a generation, let's say we were trying to indoctrinate a generation here, not doing the best job here. If we were trying to indoctrinate a generation here, it would be Gen X. And it's well, those people are already adults. But if you were, wouldn't you want that generation to be as big as possible so that you could indoctrinate as many people as possible? But apparently it's just too much work. If people have 3 or 4 kids, now you got to indoctrinate all fucking 3 or 4 of those kids. Just too much work. Who has the time, really? if you're going to indoctrinate a bunch of kids with propaganda, could you just have one or two or maybe zero? Because I have shit to do. I can't spend all my life indoctrinating your kids. It's not really how any of that works. When we look back at history and we all agree that there were political groups, political parties, whatever, that were indoctrinating people into certain ideologies, those people almost always were like, have more kids, have more kids, have more kids, because they thought that some kind of culture war or even a real war was coming, and they wanted more soldiers for that war. So have more kids, more soldiers for our little war. But no, apparently not for us, for people like us. Just too much trouble. Just don't have any kids. I don't want to have to fucking, God damn it, you had a kid, now I'm gonna have to indoctrinate them. just fucking silly. So up next, we got a clip. This guy's name is Hank Kunneman, but that's not really important. I don't usually even play this guy's clips because he's fucking annoying. It's just this fucking same old, like, Jesus moral panic shit. But we've been talking a little bit on the channel about Vivek Ramaswamy. He's the Republican running for president or for the head of the intellectual dark web. I don't know which either. But I was like, this guy, like, they're not going to vote for him. And we all know why. And I'm surprised that this is the first clip we're playing of somebody saying the thing that I was thinking. So here's Pastor Hank saying, I guess, the quiet part out loud about Vivek Ramaswamy. Shout out to Right Wing Watch. Couldn't do the Sunday show without them.
We will have the greatest battle yet, and it'll be the battle with God if we go this way. And I'm going to tell you what the way is. And it's the way that when God raises up a deliverer, you better recognize it. And here's where you better be careful. I said it on Flashpoint on Tuesday, and I meant it with everything inside of me. I said, anyone, in my opinion, I'm not saying you don't have a primary. I'm not saying that is against our constitutional rights or freedoms, okay, to not have a primary. Are you listening? It's not a normal election cycle. What I'm saying is anyone running against 45, in my opinion, is absolutely not sensitive to 81 million who didn't think that they had election integrity. It's an
Wait, what? I didn't think it was going to go this way. What do you mean? But on the other, like, these same people are on the other side saying, oh, well, why aren't there debates against the incumbent president? And it's like, dude, this guy like thinks people shouldn't even run. I think, like, if there's a presidential election coming up and you want to run, I say go for it. It's hard. If you're running against an incumbent president, like, don't expect a debate. But this guy's just like, don't run. All right, dude. That's weird.
So, number two, the fact that you're running against a man whose presidency was brought into question by 81 million and others who voted for the other guy saying, wait a minute, something's off. And we've seen the same pattern. I question, why would you run? But here's the third one, and I said it on Flashpoint. We are in danger as a country. And listen to me, Generation Z. Listen to me, millennials.
Oh, yeah, a lot of fucking, like, 20-year-olds are checking out this guy's sermon, I bet.
Are watching that you like this new young guy. If he does not serve the Lord Jesus Christ and stand primarily for Judeo-Christian principles, you will have a fight with God. What are we doing? Even entertaining the fact you're going to have some dude put his hand on something other than the Bible? You're going to let him put all of his strange gods up in the White House and we're just supposed to blink because he understands?
Yeah, this is fucking bullshit. Like, there's a ton of reasons I don't want to vote for Vivek Ramaswamy, but zero of them have to do with him being Hindu. And if he was running maybe as a third party candidate or whatever and was totally cool and I agreed with him, because I live in California, I'm free to go vote for a third party candidate, right? But my vote gets thrown away by the Electoral College essentially anyway. I wouldn't care that his name is Vivek Ramaswamy.
Policies. In fact, it was Wednesday morning after that flashpoint. I heard the voice of the Lord at 2:00 in the morning, and he was so authoritative. And he said these words. He said, "I am the Lord God. I am a jealous God."
Somebody in chat, we don't usually talk to the chat during the podcast, but they asked a good question: is the guy even Hindu? Or do they just assume because his name is Vivek Ramaswamy? It never occurred to me that he was, like, I didn't even think about his religion because I think he's running for president of the intellectual dark web.
Thou shalt have no other gods before me. And I said to God at 2 o'clock in the morning, I said, as your voice, I will say that to the people and remind them. It's why our country has been blessed. Whether the presidents have...
If you're watching this, that guy had a gigantic bass bin. I don't know why for this fucking fire and brimstone speech you need like 2 18-inch subwoofers and a fucking 2,000-watt bass bin, but here we are.
Jesus, no, they've been held to a standard. You're not bringing your idols into our country. You know what took out Solomon? The wisest king? He brought foreign idols into his garden. And I don't care how good someone's policies are and how good they sound. If they don't profess the name of Yeshua. Are you hearing me? Oh, well, Pastor Frank, I think you're being extreme.
But like this guy's 4 doesn't spend a lot of time, professing the name of Yeshua, right? Like he doesn't, like, you know, you say whatever you want about Trump, but we all know that the guy did not like spend a lot of time talking about God and Jesus. Even after he knew he had to like court the evangelicals, he still didn't spend a lot of time talking about God and Jesus.
I can already see it. They're going to write their filth. Let them write. I love empowering you and tormenting you that you have to write. Yeah, the truth hurts, so keep writing it and keep hurting. But here's the point. I'm not calling someone out for the religion. What I'm saying is we will have a fight with God. We'll have a fight with God on our hands. And if
I'd have to root for God in that case. But I think he means God would be on his side.
you believe in the God of our Bible, Old Testament and New Testament. He didn't change from the Old Testament to the New Testament where now he just welcomes anything. Oh, if you want to call yourself a man and you're a woman, oh, that's fine. If you're a
he had to just bring that in too.
Like a woman and you're mad.
Now he's going off script and playing the hits. It looks like now.
I will endorse. No. It's the same. Old Testament, New Testament. There are things that God does not like, that he hates, he's jealous about. And one of the things that he doesn't like, and it's why he blessed Jehoshaphat, because Jehoshaphat was a king that
Jehoshaphat
took out the false idols and brought Israel back to honoring the one true God. So America, be smarter than that, because it won't matter what the prophets prophesy. If we now...
Why is he even talking about this? Is Vivek Ramaswamy even getting like 1% in polling?
Fight with God over his jealousy. Dangerous. And no, they would not make a great vice president.
Why? Like, I don't understand the point of even like spending... I mean, it's just because he wants to like bash people who are the wrong religion or whatever. That was like the point, but I'm not worried about Vivek Ramaswamy becoming the president and imposing the marketplace of ideas and I don't know, like mandatory ivermectin or whatever the fuck it is he'd do. But I don't like that. I don't know. I feel like if you're not going to vote for somebody, you should have a better reason than, oh, they're a Hindu and I'm afraid of that. Anyway, here's Shane Vaughn. He mad about the fucking Barbie movie.
We're living in a world that hates men, especially white men.
People love me. I'm white and I'm a man. People like me.
And they hate patriarchy. They hate the head of the house. It's toxic feminism is what it is. And this is what the Barbie movie promotes. The hatred of men, turning men into boy toys, emasculating men while they rule. There is a spirit that if you...
He knows, he watched it twice.
Your daughters or your granddaughters to watch this movie, you are turning them into the lesbians and into the everything you don't want them to be. Let me tell you what lesbianism is.
What do you have to tell your audience what it means to be a lesbian? Is this a birds and the bees talk with his audience?
Lesbianism is not even sexual. It is mental.
It's both.
When you begin to say what God's word doesn't say, I don't need a man, I don't want a man, that is lesbianism, whether you're ever involved with another woman or not.
No, that's not. No. I mean, whatever. This is the worst. Imagine if you were like a young, like a kid, his kid, and he's like, okay, I got to tell you about the birds and the bees. Then he tells you this shit instead.
God created a woman for the man. The Bible says that. I don't care if you like it. I don't care if you get mad. You can't argue with me. You can't debate me.
Well, you don't take calls.
I'll shut you down with God's word. Your opinion don't matter. It bows down to the word of Yahweh. In the word of God, the woman was made for the man. Now, baby, anything besides that is lesbianism.
Lesbianism.
Okay? Because if you don't need a man, that makes you a man.
Huh? No. Like this guy doesn't even, has this guy ever spoken to a lesbian? I bet he's afraid of lesbians. Maybe he thinks they're going to beat him up. I don't even know what, like, I'm just telling you, this guy watched the Barbie movie more than once. He's probably right now actually watching it for the third time. You know, research. Lesbianism. That's what it is when you don't need no man. It's lesbianism. Sure. Anyway, up next is my question is that where the Declaration of Independence came from?
If you want to read one of the most profound sermons, read the Declaration of Independence.
That's not a sermon.
It was taken out of the book of Deuteronomy and Leviticus in
no,
the Old Testament. Thomas Jefferson wrote it. For the most part, he had a small committee, but it was taken out of those two Old Testament books. So to your point, Floyd, you're exactly right. The bedrock, the foundation of this nation and our founders, they believed was by God ordained this nation.
Oh, well, okay. They decided not to put that in the Constitution, but like, whatever. They just mean that, like, that there's flowery language about in the Declaration of Independence about, like, well, we're endowed by our Creator or whatever. That's all they point to. Then people get the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution like confused all the time. One of them is law, and the other one is like a Dear John letter. The Declaration of Independence is just the most famous Dear John letter that anyone ever fucking wrote. Anyway, up next we got Fire by Night reject, Robin Bullock, and the prophecies about the 2020 election couldn't have possibly been wrong. It's just everyone else is wrong, not Robin Bullock or the prophets. Everyone else is wrong. And as once again, shout out to Right Wing Watch. Couldn't do this show without good folks over there at Right Wing Watch.
There's some things that we've given in prophetic word that I've said that absolutely there's no way you could have made it up. They come to pass, and it's all recorded. Do you think that, and prophecies other prophets have given that are astounding, that you just look at it and say, you can't make this stuff.
Behind him do you remember that screensaver that came with like Windows 3.1? I think that's what's running behind him. If you're watching the podcast, there's this screensaver that you could get. It was either like from like the After Dark screensavers, or maybe it came with Windows, where it was just these stars kind of slowly coming out toward you. And that seems to be what he's got running behind him. Somebody in chat just called him Silly Ray Cyrus.
Up. Do you think they would hit it on everything like that and miss who won the election? Folks, that's stupid.
Wait. These people who made these predictions, the predictions didn't come true. It is stupid for you to believe that the predictions didn't come true. It's not stupid to just hold on to these predictions that didn't come true. It's stupid to believe that they didn't. Just join me in my reality where all these predictions came true. Up next, we haven't taken a look at this guy in a while. And by that, I mean like maybe 3 weeks. We got Stu Peters. Stu Peters has a bit of a theory about Kevin McCarthy and Marjorie the Gathering. We're using the term theory pretty loosely here.
So that brings us to Miss Marjorie. Representative Taylor Greene ran as a grassroots candidate. Remember, I'm going to expose all of the rhinos. The establishment campaigned against her in 2020. So she looked good on the surface. And when she got selected and installed,
she won her election. She did not get selected and installed. She won her election. They did not select Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't like Marjorie the Gathering, but she won her election.
She immediately joined the Freedom Caucus. Liberal Republicans, meanwhile, teamed up with Democrats to kick her off of her committee assignments. So again, she looked like a really bright and shiny object, a Freedom First fighter.
A bright and shiny object, everyone.
Something changed. MTG became an ally of Kevin McCarthy, who represents the rhinos and the swamp. He is the swamp. He is a rhino. He is the leader of the rhinos. And then she became basically one of his number one shills in the entire Congress, in the entire world, maybe. Just like that. Crazy, isn't it? I wonder what Kevin McCarthy holds over Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Nothing. She wants political power. She wants power in politics. And if she's going to get it, not the worst thing in the world to cozy up to the Speaker of the House, even if you don't agree with the Speaker of the House on everything. It's not that, come on, you'll get more of your agenda done, or you'll be able to, push your agenda better if you are like at least friendly with the most powerful person in your party, in the body of Congress that you're in. This is dumb to think otherwise. And that's all she's doing. Stu Peters, ain't nothing going on, but she's a politician. And I guess, I don't know, don't vote for her next time. Do you think Stu lives in her district? I do get Florida vibe. I get Florida vibes from Stu Peters, but I don't know where he's at. Don't know where he's at. Anyway, we haven't talked about InfoWars in a while. Here's InfoWars dork Harrison Smith. This is like the C or the D team over there at InfoWars. We're going to go back to Charlottesville. Let's talk about Charlottesville with InfoWars dork Harrison Smith.
It's really sad that we have to re-explain the most basic facts about freedom as a concept to people.
What is this music?
It's a bizarre position to be in. But it's I guess when you have decades of the public school system and the mainstream media systematically destroying the foundations of this country, we have to rebuild it up. We have to re-explain why things like freedom of speech are important, why it's better for our country to allow opinions, even unpopular ones, even opinions that some people would see as highly objectionable. Why it's better to allow those opinions than use the force of government or public violence to destroy those things. And
what about
especially weird because it's only one particular view that's not allowed, right? You're really only not allowed to care about white people. That's
Wait, what?
Because anytime you talk about Black Lives Matter, I mean, they're perfectly aware of what a dangerous precedent it would set to arrest a bunch of peaceful protesters who are just marching down the street, even if what they believe is ridiculous nonsense that actually has tangibly bad results, right? So the marches of Black Lives Matter resulted in the defund the police program policy set that.
But the police didn't get defunded. Except maybe in Antioch. We cover that on Down Ballot. There'll be more on that this Friday night, I think. But that's a different story. That's most of the police there have done things that mean they're just going to get fired. But I don't think that's what anybody meant by defund the police, and it just didn't happen.
Has led to tens of thousands of extra murders. I mean, untold death and suffering as a direct consequence of the policies supported by the marchers that were there. But the marchers aren't committing violence, then they're allowed to march, even if their ideas are in effect and in practice murderous. if they're not
but
actually
but
committing violence, they can
the
support
premise is false in this case.
Like that's what freedom is about. And when it comes to Black Lives Matter, they understand that perfectly well. But when it comes to the Charlottesville rally, 2017, 6 years ago, suddenly it all goes out the window. And despite the fact that the vast majority of those people marched and weren't remotely aggressive towards anybody.
Did any of them get arrested?
Committed no violence whatsoever.
Wait, what?
Basically, they have regular Americans advocating in favor of their life being destroyed because they marched in a Nazi rally. Of course,
so wait a minute. He said he's conflating some things. He's like, oh, their life is getting destroyed, but then he was talking about like people not getting arrested. Well, you can fuck your life up in all kind of ways without getting arrested, right? Like it's pretty easy to fuck your life up and not get arrested in the process.
If anybody remembers, I mean, there are people on the ground documenting that whole thing. Everything about it is so utterly backwards and insane. Because after all, you had a group of people, again, whether you agree with what they were marching for or not.
Did those people get arrested for doing that march?
They had a right to march. They were doing a peaceful protest.
Oh, no, he's talking about like them getting identified. And he's probably talking about the memes. There were like a lot of great memes about that.
And then busloads of Antifa show up and cause violence. And then it's the people who had the right to march are the ones that are blamed for it. But again, this guy 6 years ago participated in this as a 20-year-old. Which is like when you see what's happening to America, when you see the vicious hatred transmuted into law against you and your country and your people and your family.
Oh, just say the 14 words. I can't watch a minute more of this. Plus, this is a long video, and we can only watch short clips of InfoWars here on Twitch. Against you and your country, like the thing at the end there, he was definitely like not even dog whistling, right? He was like foghorning white supremacy. He was like, oh, they're taking your country away from you and shit. It's like, well, who? I mean, you know, we know who. It's generally people of color, and oftentimes if you go far enough down the rabbit hole, they say that that Jewish people are funding it. So we got 3 more clips here. Up next, we got DP, otherwise known as Dennis Prager. He has, in fact, removed the DP logo from his live stream because, I mean, do you really want to think about DP with Dennis Prager? I certainly don't. Anyway, he's going to talk about Albert Einstein.
Why am I bringing this to your attention? Because I don't give a damn what Albert Einstein thought about religion. That's why. The fact that people care about what he thought about religion is proof that he's right. Science has superseded religion. I came to this conclusion decades ago.
I don't much care what Albert Einstein thought about religion, but I mean, it's interesting to hear.
When I saw an ad in the New York Times, whole page, Nobel laureates oppose capital punishment. And I thought, what the hell do I care what a Nobel laureate in chemistry or physics or poetry thinks about capital punishment? It's part of the worship of the intelligentsia, which the intelligentsia tries to bring about. Albert Einstein was not a particularly bright man outside of science. He was, for example, a pacifist. Pacifism is stupid.
Wait, no, you can make an argument for pacifism.
Is morally stupid. It is never right to kill. Are you kidding me? Einstein, a Jew, thought it was not right to kill the Nazis?
I bet if you... I feel like this is probably a gross oversimplification of this.
He's not here to answer the question, but if you're a pacifist, then you believe that fighting the Nazis was evil. That's what pacifism means.
No, no.
Sometimes you kill.
That's not what pacifism means.
Sometimes you kill.
No, that's There are pacifists even believe in self-defense. That's, I'm not even going to get in. Like, first of all, I don't have a deep background on the philosophy of pacifism, but I know that Dennis Prager doesn't either. He's just like, oh, it's stupid. It's stupid. This guy's an idiot. Well, I don't, we don't do hero worship around here. We talk about that a lot on the Intellectual Dollar Tree. Like, I don't know, if your hero is a dead guy, at least he can't fuck up tomorrow. But like, I don't think that a lot of people are really looking to Albert Einstein for social commentary. Maybe some social commentary on the issues of his day, but certainly not on the issues of ours. And there's DP being doubly stupid again. So I didn't know that they did drag shows at a hipster coffee shop, but apparently they do, because here's Heather Hying claiming that she went to a drag show, and she's going to have, all kinds of things to say about the people there.
But as you might imagine, the crowd had some beautiful and compelling people in it, including, for instance, some guys who looked like they walked out of the Castro in the 1980s, like some just...
Wait, they looked like they walked out of the Castro in the 1980s? That would make them old.
Fabulous gay guys, really, really built, wearing like black leather, and like could have been the Village People, right? But it also had the 2010s, 2020s version of the woke brigade, the so-called queer community, if you will. Which
there were all kind of people at this drag event that I definitely went to.
By and large, these people do not look healthy, right? It's, people are, very doughy.
They were doughy.
Pale. Lots of artificial color on their skin and their hair and such. And
you think Heather colors are gray? I don't know.
Some elaborate costuming, which, okay, but often not. Just kind of dingy clothes and doughy, both affect and physique.
We're going to, ma'am.
And at some level, I think that people have become convinced that to aspire is somehow shaming those who haven't done better. And so by voting for the obviously less compelling, less skillful, and less attractive person, they are both affirming who they are and not, fat shaming, beauty shaming, all of these things, which is actually just code for if you are fit and healthy and look good, you don't get to talk about it because
why not?
I'm in charge now. And I don't have health. I don't have beauty. I don't apparently, often don't have much going on at all, but I've declared that I'm in charge, and somehow a lot of people are buying into it.
So I don't believe that she went to the drag show. I just don't think she did. I think she's just like fucking making up stories. But also, like, I've been going to events my entire adult life, and it turns out, and I know people might be shocked by this, I'm not attracted to everyone at this event. I don't think that everyone there is what we would call a beautiful person. That's fine. I don't know. Let dance, have a good time, enjoy the event. I don't see why this matters. Oh, she's like, the young people were there and they looked a way that I didn't approve of. It's like, all right, lady. So what? Sometimes I see like what young people are wearing and I'm like, I wouldn't wear that or whatever, but like, so what? Big fucking deal. I'm 46 years old. Maybe I'm not going to understand what's going on with like 20 to 25 year olds for the most part. That's okay. No problem. We got one more story on the docket before we go into red light. I wonder what the red lights are going to look like in here, because if you notice, there's a lot of light in here. We'll have to make some adjustments maybe. Anyway, this is we may end up watching this during the post game of the Intellectual Dollar Tree on Wednesday. This is Old Beef and Benzo's Jordan Peterson on the Club Random show, where Bill Maher sits there and pretends to drink and smoke weed.
You look amazing.
Well, thank you,
because
sir.
I know you were at death's door.
Yeah, for a long time.
I've said this before.
I hope he talks about the apple cider.
Matthew Perry, because he was at death's door when he was on my show, the other one, and I said, it's amazing that life, it's so fragile. It's so easy to die. And it's also kind of hard.
This is true.
It's also kind of hard to get you.
Mm-hmm.
And you were close, right?
Oh, yeah.
So why? What was, I forgot what it was.
I don't know, really.
You don't know? Really?
Not really. It was a bunch of things, I think.
I mean, we know. It was addiction to benzodiazepine coupled with a refusal to accept the medical consensus on how to detox from benzodiazepine. We know.
I think all at the same time. I don't really know.
But what was the symptoms?
I was in worse pain every moment during the morning and afternoons for 2.5 years than I'd ever been for any moment in my whole life.
What kind of pain?
Oh, I don't know. How would I describe it?
Like all over?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it was also like cattle prod pain. So I couldn't sit down. There were months where I was walking 9 to 12 miles a day.
And what is the provenance of this pain? We don't know.
Well, some of it had to do with benzodiazepine
What's that?
withdrawal. Valium, essentially.
Oh, you were taking Valium?
Yeah, although not very much. And
oh no.
And I got really sick. I got really sick in 2017. In 2016, and I couldn't sleep at all.
People partied on that shit.
I know.
In this town.
Yeah, well, if you do it now and then, it's not so bad. But
no, I always had a low keel, so like any downer I took,
you just pass out.
I literally. I think Bill isn't buying it, right? But like his audience, he has to like play along. He can't just be like, "This is bullshit," even if that's what he believes. And we don't know that's what he believes, right? If we were to assume that would be maybe wishful thinking or whatever. But I don't know what he believes. Doing this for the money, just like I am. I'm doing this. I like doing this, but I'm doing this for the money now.
When I was living in New York, when I was a young comic, we took a Quaaludes. Remember Quaaludes?
Yeah.
And I passed out. We got about 2 blocks from my apartment. I passed out. I remember it being over the hood of a cab.
Party.
And they just my friend dragged me right back to the apartment and threw me on the bed. And I woke up 14 hours later with the door open. That's how bad my apartment was. The door was open for 14 hours and no one wanted to rob it.
That's sad. That's sad, you know.
Or you lived in a safe neighborhood.
Embarrassing in New York.
So you were on, okay. But then, and I mean, you just look great.
Thank you, sir.
You look better than ever.
Yeah, probably am better than ever.
You look like the fucking Marlboro Man. I mean, you're like...
Oh, I wouldn't go that far.
Ready
to go, man.
Yeah, maybe, but that suit, I mean, Jesus Christ, you must feel like $1 million to come back from that.
I mean, he probably feels more like 10 or 20 million, maybe 30 million.
I'm pretty happy, but my wife almost died too, at the same time, so...
Well, maybe that's what caused your sickness.
It didn't help.
Right.
So the media wench had brought up that like you can't fact check any of this because this is all medical stuff and your medical stuff's private. So what if all this is bullshit? What if the whole thing is bullshit, including the benzos? And what if it was just fabricated? Now, I don't believe that, but it could be. Medical stuff's private.
And my daughter was also very sick at the same time.
I mean, I believe rather deeply in the mind-body connection. I mean, I believe that among the parts of Western medicine that annoy me and that I believe in the future will look stupid is not not taking into account, rather, that element. Like if they can't...
Wait, this is incorrect. Your general care practitioner will tend to ask you about your mental health. This is incorrect.
On a blood sheet, your blood...
It doesn't show up on a blood test, but that doesn't mean nobody's asking about it or paying attention to it. This is just bullshit.
Fight with a number, it doesn't really exist in Western medicine. And I don't think that's how we are. You agree with that? Hey, thanks for watching the clip.
Oh,
hit the subscribe.
I'm sorry we watched the clip, but Bill, our podcast is over. So I wish you would have brought up the apple cider because that apple cider story is fucking hilarious. But the thing at the end where Bill acted like, when you say mind-body medicine too, that's sort of like, it's sort of like a kind of a crystal healing energy thing that people talk about. But the notion that modern medicine doesn't take into account your mental state is just incorrect. People get referrals to therapists, psychologists, psychiatrists all the time from people practicing science-based medicine. It just happens. As well it should. And I think maybe science-based medicine could do even a better job on that going forward. I have no problem with that. But, not my area of expertise, and not my area of expertise. So, everybody, I hope you like the new motif of the show here. I worked pretty hard over the last couple days to put this together to make sure we could go live tonight. We did go live later than I wanted to tonight, but I just didn't want to be rushed. Didn't want to be stressed out for the show. So all the other shows going forward should be starting on time. Sorry about the chaos in the last couple weeks, and I'm glad everybody stuck around. Thanks to the people who bought shit off our Amazon wish list. Thank you for people direct cash donations. Thank you for everybody who has subbed and donated bits. And if you've ever thought about supporting this project, now is as good a time as any, because we're just going to get better. The lighting's just going to get better. I was going for that bisexual style lighting, and I'll still get it. It's mostly just pink with like a yellowish glow behind me, which don't look so bad. But we'll get more like blues and greens coming up soon. Anyway, I'm probably going to rock 2 songs because I'm in a new place, so I don't know the lay of the land as well. I don't have my little routine to get myself a cocktail and get the lights red and get back in here. But the first one will be Boomers, because that's how we end all of our political shows. And then after that, I'll let the auto DJ pick. And I'll be back in a couple minutes with Red Light. What we have tonight for Red Light is we have Roger Ailes' widow making her debut on Red Light. We got Mike Pillow's been working 18 hours a day since August 17th, which I actually do believe. We got a new chemtrails hype that just dropped. We got a bunch of cookers gathering in Melbourne. And I just wrote down, if someone asks if you're a god, you say yes, because I'm a Ghostbusters fan. Then we got, little Nikki Fuentes did not like the Barbie movie. Then we're going to take a look into some of the stuff that PragerU is suggesting and might likely be using to indoctrinate school kids in Florida. So I'll be back in a little bit. Stick around. And podcast listeners, I don't know, join us, twitch.tv/EchoPlexMedia.